Talk about a holiday hangover. Donald Trump looks poised to turn on his most crucial ally, and one way or another, someone is going to have a horrible new year. Someone also just uncovered how the unlikely alliance between Trump and said advisor came about, and in a greater context, it does not bode well for anyone. Reheat the leftovers, folks. This story is about to get juicy. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. And yes, I'm back home after a week at Grandma's. She thanks you all again for the holiday well wishes and compliments on her curio case. Mom and Dad were also delighted by your shout-outs, so on behalf of the whole family, thank you. But okay, let's get into this rather jet-lagged version of our story, shall we? As you will no doubt recall, 2 weeks ago, Vanity Fair ran a controversial piece on the Trump cabinet, revealing some of their inter-administration dynamics and their personal idiosyncrasies. The star of said piece was Susie Wiles, Trump's 2024 campaign manager turned chief of staff. In the piece, she made some shocking statements about the Orange Menace and the motley crew of sycophants and nutbags surrounding him. Here's a recap.
This just in, a revealing new interview with really the most powerful person in President Trump's White House beyond him. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles commenting and going there on a wide range of topics, it seems, with Vanity Fair in a new series of interviews, from the handling of the Epstein investigation to her assessment of the big names on Donald Trump's team. Let's get to CNN's Elena Treen, who is at the White House. There seems to be a lot in there, Elena. What is your big takeaway?
I mean, look, I've covered the president and I've also covered Susie Wiles for years now, Kate, and this is one of the most candid interviews and stories that she's offered really from the entire time I've done that. This is incredibly candid, some of the things that she was admitting, because I will tell you too, Wiles is someone who often likes to operate kind of in the shadows and quietly. She doesn't like to draw attention to herself, and that's why I think some of what people are waking up and reading this morning is so stunning to hear about. But let me get into some of the main things that I found very notable from what Chris Whipple, who works with Vanity Fair, detailed from their conversations. One is that Wiles referred to President Trump as someone having a, quote, alcoholic personality. She also talked a lot about the vice president, J.D. Vance, someone who I should note, had this conversion that Whipple noted as well from never Trumper to a MAGA acolyte. Susie Wiles essentially said that change, that conversion has been, quote, sort of political.
And if you think Ms. Wiles maybe seemed a little passive-aggressive there, stay tuned. It gets worse. I should add at this point that Ms. Wiles, for her part, says her words were taken out of context. The author behind the piece, however, Chris Whipple, notes that he has all their conversations on tape and that nothing was misrepresented in the article. Trump has thus far shrugged off most of the criticism lobbied at him by Wiles, as well as that which followed the piece, at least for the moment. Now a pair of journalists are warning that the fallout is just beginning and that the revenge is on the menu for January. But here's the catch. It's not clear who will be getting said retribution, Trump or Wiles herself. Appearing on their podcast, Legal AF, political analysts Sidney Blumenthal and Sean Willens note that the Vanity Fair piece was already Wiles taking out her frustrations on Trump in public, and that their unholy alliance is about to come apart. Take a look.
Susie Wiles, the chief of staff to Donald Trump, by trashing Donald Trump and revealing her true feelings of antagonism and beyond criticism of Trump, calling him, saying that he has an alcoholic's personality, and that's just the beginning of where she goes, is an act of aggression, but it's also kind of passive at the same time. Well, she's operating through this reporter. She's highly practiced, by the way, as a political operative. She knows she's talking to the press. She knows it's going to come out. She may feel it's coming out in a book later. He's the author of books on chiefs of staff of presidents. But, it's an aggressive act that's in which she's taken a kind of half step back here. And there's an element of revenge, of getting even for how she has been diminished by everybody around her in the Trump administration and White House, including and especially Donald Trump. So that's why
Yes.
I call it that.
Yeah. And she's saying all these terrible things. And in the end, she goes back to her office and she's still there. I mean, she's going to be very much his chief of staff.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I believe that Trump,
this is
having
a
been humiliated
resignation?
by her,
Uh-huh.
never lets a humiliation
Go unpunished.
go to waste.
Yeah.
And he will find a way to engage in a drip of humiliation that may
Yeah.
force her out. I'd be surprised if he doesn't do that.
Oh, and by the way, it's worth noting that in the same conversation, Blumenthal and Wilentz note that Wiles originally came to Trump's attention because she ran Ron DeSantis' 2018 gubernatorial campaign, which he won. Wiles, however, ran afoul of DeSantis' wife, Casey, who was very jealous of another woman having so much influence over her husband, so she forced Susie out of a job. Wiles only decided to help Trump in 2024 because she wanted revenge of her own on Ron DeSantis. And sure enough, DeSantis ran what has been called the worst campaign in the history of the Iowa caucus, and Trump won re-election. So you see, revenge is what seems to motivate Wiles as much as it motivates Trump. So no wonder their relationship is a powder keg sitting on a box of fireworks. And now the matches are smirking. Remember to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on this and all other breaking news stories in American politics. I'm David Reddish.